He actually told our friends I trapped him into marrying him, like it was some big joke. Everyone laughed, but I felt sick to my stomach. I just booked a hotel room that night and left. Now he's blowing up my phone, calling me crazy and saying I'm overreacting because I'm 34. He's 36, by the way. We've been married a little over 3 years, but we've been together for 6. Things have been pretty good, mostly. You know, comfortable, predictable. We share chores, plan trips together, have a joint calendar, the whole 9 yards. I always felt like we were a solid couple, maybe not Instagram perfect, but stable. We were having a few friends over for dinner, nothing big, just pasta and hanging out. Damien and Layla came, and this other couple we know through them, Sophia and Marcus. I'd only met Sophia once before, but I really liked her. She's got this funny, direct way about her. She'll tease you, but she's so warm about it that you can't help but laugh. Anyway, the night started out normal. Everyone was talking, music playing softly. I made this roasted garlic mushroom pasta that I was kind of excited about, and for a second I felt this sense of contentment, I guess. Like this is what adult life is supposed to be. Then somewhere between dessert and the second bottle of wine, the conversation turned to marriage. Layla and Damien are engaged, and Sophia was asking them all these questions about their wedding plans and how Damien proposed. It was really sweet. So out of the blue, Sophia turns to my husband, let's call him Julian, and asks, "So how'd you propose to Marin, or did she just wear you down until you gave in?" I figured he'd launch into his usual shtick, you know, the whole Edinburgh surprise proposal story. The nervous sweating, almost dropping the ring in a bowl of soup. He loves telling that one. But nope. Julian just laughs and says, "Honestly, I think she trapped me. Too polite to say no after all those not-so-subtle hints." He grinned like it was the funniest thing ever. Everyone cracked up except me. I managed a smile, but my face was burning. I mumbled something awkward like, "Wow, guess the cat's out of the bag now," trying to play it cool. But it felt awful, this weird lump in my chest. It wasn't just the comment, it was how they all just went along with it. Even Layla, who knows me better than most, didn't say a word. They just kept on laughing, all about how women always have a master plan and guys are helpless. Julian even gave me that eyebrow-raising look like, "What, I'm being funny, right?" But it wasn't funny to me, not even a little. I made an excuse about checking the dessert, even though it was already on the table, and just stood there in the kitchen for a minute, catching my breath. I wasn't about to cry in front of everyone, but honestly it felt like someone had just sucker-punched me, because the truth, I hadn't pressured him at all. Honestly, I waited way too long for him to be ready. I even pulled back when he got cold feet, gave him a whole year off before we even got engaged. I respected his need for time. So for him to say that, even as a joke, it felt like he was totally rewriting our history, making me out to be some crazy person who tricked him. After everyone left the party, I didn't say anything right away. We did the dishes together, him helping. It was so weird, like nothing was wrong, but I couldn't get it out of my head. The next morning, I asked him kinda casually at first, "Hey, what was that about me trapping you last night? Where did that even come from?" Julian looked at me like I was being completely dramatic. He said, "Babe, it was a joke. Come on, everyone laughed. You're not actually mad, are you?" I told him it really bothered me, that it felt like a total lack of respect. He just sighed like I was the most annoying person ever. He said, "Marin, it was a joke. You're making a huge deal out of nothing." I let it go, or at least I tried to. But for the next few days, that stupid joke kept eating at me. And then he brought it up again. I overheard him on the phone with his brother saying, "Yeah, I think Marin just wore me down till I said yes. She's persistent, I'll give her that." He laughed, and I don't know, it was like something inside me just broke. That night, while he was showering, I packed a bag. So I reserved a hotel room in the city and told Julian I needed some breathing room, left him a note explaining how I felt about his jokes about our marriage, and that he needed to figure out why they hurt so badly. After I split that night, Julian reacted exactly how I figured he would. He bombarded my phone with texts and calls, starting out confused and quickly turning annoyed. At first it was like, "Seriously, you're not being serious, are you?" Then it was, "Are you done with the dramatics yet?" By day 2, he was laying on the guilt trip pretty thick. "I guess our marriage doesn't mean much if you can just ditch me over a joke." I stayed at that hotel for a couple nights, then went to crash with my cousin Lyra. She offered up her guest room without even a second thought. She'd always acted like she liked Julian, but she also had this knack for seeing right through things. When I told her what happened, she didn't say a whole lot, just raised an eyebrow and mumbled, "That's a sign." Then she let me get some sleep. I didn't go back home for 3 weeks. During that time, Julian changed his tactics more times than I could keep track of. Some days he'd be all sweet and apologetic, saying how he screwed up, that he finally got how the joke made me feel like crap. The next day he'd be ice cold and defensive, saying how nobody else would have reacted like that, and that I was just impossible to please. He just kept bringing up every little thing we'd ever fought about, like he was keeping score or something, not trying to make things right. After the second week, he sent me this huge message that began with, "I didn't mean to hurt you," and ended with, "But I'm not gonna keep saying sorry for something that wasn't on purpose." He said he was sorry, but it felt like he just wanted me to drop it, not because he actually understood why I was upset. I went back to the house eventually, not because I was ready, but because I needed my stuff, clothes, important papers. And to be honest, I hoped he'd done something to show he cared. Like maybe he'd made my favorite dinner or left a little note, something to say, "I miss you." But the house was exactly the same, like I'd never left. Even worse, he was cold, not mad, just distant. He gave me a fake smile, asked if I was done running away, and offered to order takeout like nothing had happened. It hit me then how alone I'd been feeling in the marriage for a long time. That's when it became real. I told him I still needed space, that I'd be staying at Lyra's, that I wasn't ready to talk about anything until he was willing to get why he hurt me, not just pretend so I'd quit being difficult. And what did he say? He scoffed. "You just love playing the victim, don't you?" That's when something inside me changed. Things started to clear up for me over the next few months. Being without Julian gave me room to actually think, to look back, to really deal with all the things that had always bothered me but that I'd just ignored to keep the peace. Like his jokes at parties, always making me the butt of them. Or the way he'd subtly put me down in front of other people, then act like I was being dramatic. And how he always had an excuse not to come to my family gatherings, but he expected me to be at all of his. Thinking back, that dinner party wasn't the start of anything. It was just the first time I let myself stop pretending. Then one day I was at my office downtown trying to get this presentation done when I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. It was a screenshot. At first, I didn't get it. Then I saw it was from Julian's group chat with his old college buddies, the guys he still played poker with monthly. They were talking about me, about the separation, about how Julian had gotten away with something, and how, thank goodness, I didn't get half of anything. One message from Julian himself said, "She left because I made a joke. Can you believe that?" Honestly, she was always looking for a reason to play the victim. And the next message, "If she tries to go after the house, she's in for a shock." I just sat there staring at my phone. My hands were actually shaking. It wasn't just that he was trash talking me behind my back, it was who sent me the screenshot. The contact just said Marcus. Yep, that Marcus, the guy from the dinner party. The one who'd been all laughs with the rest of them. Turns out he wasn't laughing so much anymore. I didn't text him back right away. I just sat there staring at my phone, replaying every single conversation we'd had in my head over the past few months. His timing was totally off. Why now? Why send this? What the heck had changed? Finally, I went outside and called him. My voice sounded normal, but inside it felt like I was about to explode. "Hey," I said when he answered. "I got your message." He paused. Then he let out this huge sigh like he'd been holding his breath. "Yeah," he said. "I wasn't sure I should, but I figured you deserved to know." I asked him where the screenshot came from. He explained he'd been accidentally added to the group chat after some guy changed his number. He figured Julian must have forgotten he was even in there or just assumed he'd be on his side like everyone else. But Marcus wasn't. "He talks about you like you're like some huge problem," he said. "Like his life would be perfect if you just vanished. It's crazy. I didn't think things were that bad between you two, not until that night at dinner anyway." I didn't say anything for a minute, just let the silence hang there. Then Marcus said something I'll never forget. That phone call just gutted me. The words hung in the air, "He's not who he pretends to be," and it felt like my insides were turning to lead. I sat in my car for, I don't know, close to an hour after talking to Mark. Couldn't move. Couldn't even think about going back inside. My mind was just a whirlwind of old memories, little things suddenly making a horrible kind of sense. Like that time Julian forwarded an email meant for his boss to me by mistake, and then somehow twisted it around so I was the one who screwed up. Or how he could be so damn charming around other people, but never seemed to have the energy for us. And every fight, every single one, turned into him lecturing me ending up apologizing just to make it stop. It hit me then, like a punch to the gut. Julian didn't want a real girlfriend, a partner. He wanted a showpiece. Someone who made him look good at parties, someone who wouldn't interrupt him, someone he could treat like dirt and still expect to greet him with a smile. But you know what? I wasn't that girl anymore, not even close. That night I went through everything, our bank statements, shared files, even old emails, and that's when I found something really fishy. A huge chunk of our savings, money we'd both worked for, had been transferred into some account I'd never seen before. He'd done it maybe 2 weeks after I left. No explanation, nothing. Just gone. I emailed him about it. I wasn't talking to him on the phone anymore, and his response was so cold, so formal, like we were strangers. Okay, so since I'm not living there anymore and not paying for anything, I had to figure out how to keep the house going. We'd agreed that I'd handle the money stuff if we ever split up. He didn't even ask how I was doing or try to talk. Nope, just that email. I forwarded it to my lawyer the next day. Yeah, I got a lawyer now. Her name's Elise, and she's amazing, really smart, but calm and level-headed. She's helping me sort through this financial mess Julian had been creating for months before I even left. Turns out he'd been planning this whole thing. And I mean planning, not just emotionally, but legally too. The house is only in his name. And that joint account, it's actually under his social security number, and I'm just listed as someone he lets use it. So all the money he moved around, totally legal. Completely wrong ethically, but legally, he's in the clear. For now, anyway. Elise told me not to freak out, and I'm trying. But the deeper I get into it, the more I see how long he'd been setting this up. Way before that stupid joke at the dinner party, that thing he said about me trapping him. It wasn't a joke. It was him projecting his own stuff onto me, all resentful, maybe even a warning. He wanted me to come crawling back, but no way. Not after what I found in his desk. The drawer wasn't even locked. I thought that was weird, 'cause he always locked it. He used to kid around saying it's where the magic happens. I figured it was just work stuff or something private. I never looked. I used to believe it showed he trusted me. Now, though, as I stood there in that quiet room, it hit me. He didn't lock the drawer because he didn't think I'd ever come back. Seriously. He probably figured I'd stay gone, or if I did show up again, I'd be all apologetic and looking down, ready to just let it go. He really misjudged me. Inside the drawer, there were folders, all organized with colors and labels. Some were obviously work-related. His tech consulting contracts, old invoices, the stuff I expected. But then I spotted one labeled personal agreements. That label just gave me the creeps. Inside were printed emails, stuff highlighted, even notes in his own handwriting. But one page really jumped out. It was a printed screenshot of a conversation between Julian and someone named Becca. I hadn't heard that name in ages. Becca was someone Julian had dated a little bit back in college. I barely remembered her. He'd mentioned her once or twice, always rolling his eyes, saying she was too intense and emotionally unstable. I hadn't really thought about it, but here she was in a chat with him, dated only 2 months before we got married. In the conversation, Julian was complaining, or more like plotting. Becca had apparently messaged him to say congratulations on the engagement. His reply was anything but friendly. "It's not what you think," she replied. "I didn't exactly get a say in the timing." Then, "Wait, I thought you were excited." "You literally told everyone. She was perfect, Julian." Okay, so perfect for what I need right now doesn't mean I'm suddenly ready to settle down and get married. But she's really pushing for this ring, and honestly, it would make things a lot easier tax-wise. Taxes, I had to reread that part twice. Then, bam. That night at the hotel came flooding back. Julian casually mentioning our wedding date worked perfectly with his quarterly reports. I laughed. He didn't. My hands were shaking a little as I sat on the edge of my desk chair. Then I saw another message printed out from the day after that awful dinner party. That dinner party, he'd texted Becca, "You were right." Apparently she freaked out, stormed off, the whole 9 yards. But his text ended with, "Don't worry, I got this. She won't get anything. If she wants to play tough, she'll lose." That was it. He never saw me as his equal. I was just a pawn, a tool, something convenient, someone nice to look at, and mostly someone he could control. I slipped out of the house, grabbing only my books and that folder of messages. Lyra was waiting for me at the coffee shop down the street. When I showed her what I'd found, she just stared for a long time. Finally, she slowly closed the folder and said, "We need to fight back. Smart, not loud." And that's how it all started. I began small. Elise helped me draft a document demanding a full accounting of our shared assets. We made it look like we were just having a little time out, not actually getting a divorce. Julian, that jerk, just signed off like he didn't have a care in the world. I bet he still thought he had me fooled. Honestly, I had no idea how many lies he'd been feeding me. He always told me I wasn't smart enough for business, that I was too naive and trusting. That's exactly what he was banking on. But he didn't factor in Lyra. She used to work as a paralegal at some big corporate law firm before she went out on her own as a photographer, so she still had connections. These quiet, super competent people who could spot shady dealings in financial records a mile away. And that's precisely what they did. Turns out, Julian had been secretly moving money around for months before I even left. Not just our savings, either. Stocks, cryptocurrency, even stuff from some side hustle he never breathed a word about to me. He'd stashed it all under some LLC he set up in another state, then had the gall to write off our house, internet, and electric bill as business expenses. So now I had him proof of his emotional abuse and his financial shenanigans. I finally had something Julian never thought I was capable of, rock-solid evidence to completely shatter his perfect little facade. But right before I was ready to make my move, something crazy happened. Marcus contacted me out of the blue. Instead of sending another screenshot, he wanted to meet face to face. He said it was about Julian and it was important. I wasn't sure about it, but I said yes. We ended up meeting at this little hole-in-the-wall diner, you know the kind, with those old vinyl booths and faded pictures on the walls. Man, he was a nervous wreck, you know, like he'd done something wrong and had no idea what would happen next. We were at dinner, grabbing coffee after, and he finally said it. "I've been thinking about that joke." I'd laughed, everyone did, but I couldn't shake this feeling. I kept replaying your face when he said it, and then his face afterward he looked like he'd just won the lottery. I didn't say anything. Then he whips out his phone, shows me this voice memo. Julian had sent it to our group chat, apparently forgetting I was still in it. It was awful, just awful. A minute and 23 seconds of pure ugliness. Julian's voice, all slurred, either he was dead tired or hammered, came blasting out of the phone. He was going off, complaining about how much of a hassle I was, saying he should have picked someone easier, that I'd overreacted to a stupid joke like it was the apocalypse. But the worst part, right near the end, he said, "She's not gonna do anything, she's not that type, she doesn't have it in her." He actually said that. Then he goes on, "I could wipe out the whole account and she'd still come crawling back once she calms down." That's what they do. They love the drama, the show, but they always come back, especially when they realize how much worse it is out there without me. That's when something inside me, this quiet little thing I'd been holding on to for so long, finally broke. It wasn't just that he underestimated me, he completely disrespected me. Behind my back, in front of everyone, financially, emotionally, he wanted me to be nothing, someone he could control, someone he could mold into whatever he wanted. He just didn't remember me anymore, the person I was before I changed everything to be with him. And he totally forgot who I'd become after I walked away. Elise and Lyra, they were amazing, and we moved so fast. Way faster than he ever saw coming. So here's the thing, Elise filed for divorce first. We served him right there in his office in front of all his coworkers. It was a power move, you know. He always acted so cool, calm, and collected, totally unflappable, that's what he thought. But Elise said, watching his face turn red, his voice getting loud, slamming doors, it was pretty spectacular, the whole meltdown. Next, we hit him with a formal complaint, tons of proof he'd been hiding money. Elise had everything. Bank statements, all the LLC paperwork, every single asset transfer, even expense reports showing he used our money on some secret business I never knew about. And we had that voice memo Marcus gave us, we used that to back up our claim of emotional abuse and manipulation, a real affidavit. He tried to fight it, of course. He called, emailed, texted this endless stream of messages, sometimes apologizing, sometimes blaming me for everything. At one point, he was saying I was ruining our lives over some silly misunderstanding. Then the next day, threats. He threatened to spill all my secrets if I didn't just give up. But it backfired big time, because I had nothing to hide, he did. When we finally got to mediation, he tried his usual charm, offensive on the mediator. Fancy watch, big smile, acting like we were just having a little spat. When Elise put the folder with all the paperwork in front of him, and the witness list too, including Marcus, he just deflated. No more funny business, no more grins. He finally agreed to a settlement. He thought he was being smart, getting out ahead of things. But he didn't know Elise had filed another claim with the state, saying he'd misused our money. That claim locked down his business account. At first it was just temporary, but then it became permanent. In the end, I got more than I thought I would. Not just money, but it was good for my heart too. The judge let me keep the car we shared, most of what money we had left, and the biggest thing, I got to decide when and how we talked. We got divorced, and I found a sunny little apartment near that bookstore I always went to when I needed to think. I started seeing my friends again, the ones Julian always put down. Turns out they were waiting for me to come back. Leora's helping me start a little online thing just for me and Marcus. He said he was sorry, for real this time, and we've stayed in touch. We aren't super close, and I don't know if we ever will be, but I was glad he didn't just clam up. As for Julian, last I heard, his business went under. The state went after it for some shady paperwork. He lost some clients once they heard about what he did with our money. He still has his buddies, but it's not the same, things are calmer. He never really said he was sorry, not in a real way. The last thing he ever texted me right before I cut him off completely was 3 little words. "You changed, Anna." And yeah, I probably had, but not how he was thinking. I'm not even mad, you know. I'm not sitting here stewing or anything. I'm just over it, that's all.